Alrighty, so I'm gonna read this article in a second, but first we're going to dissect this egg show segment. But now keep this in context. It's Father's Day, and you have an all-female panel on the Ed Show discussing, male employment, underemployment, and jobs, and how great women are doing because of the economic changes in this country. But just food for thought. Look at it. The Eric Erickson, Lou Dobbs situation when they were having a discussion about the female-headed households, breadwinners. Every article I read, in quotations, the all-male panel, or, when you look at the Melissa Harris two last name Perry segment on it, same situation. Why are there all men talking about this situation that is something to do with women? Yet you have the Ed Show have an all-female panel to discuss a male issue of all days, Father's Day. But we're gonna have a discussion on we're gonna break down this segment real quick, and then look at these new policies that the Obama administration is implementing that are going to affect more male jobs and push more men out of work, or put men in a position where they are underpaid in fields that currently right now do pay well, but because of their restrictions, those are things that are going to change.
Shower after work. President Obama says fatherhood is one of the best jobs in the world, but dads are having a rough time on the regular job market lately. Unemployment is up among men while the jobless rate is dropping for women. Traditionally, male-dominated industries like manufacturing and construction have suffered more than any others since the recession began. Big companies shipping jobs overseas, closing factories, and of course, leaving men struggling to make ends meet in this country. Those same companies can't offshore the jobs dominated by women. Careers in healthcare, temporary office work, restaurants in the service industry, retail have added more than 1 million jobs since January. Meanwhile, the male-dominated manufacturing industry has lost jobs over the past 2 months. Let's bring back our real...
Now, you heard that Ed, try to flip it as if it's, all the manufacturers' fault for this disparity in male jobs and shipping them overseas and what have you. And he stated, well, they can't ship over the female jobs that they choose to take. But anyways, he talks about that fact that the jobs are leaving the country, and that is a bad thing, situation. But he doesn't have any discussion on what policies are being implemented by the Obama administration, which pushes these jobs overseas. If you got all these restrictions and mandates and things, and I can make more money abroad, who wouldn't do that? I mean, people talk about it like it's just an evil, bad thing to do. Yet, most of us would do it too if we were in that predicament. Not to mention, we all benefit from the products that come from over there, because if they were made here, they would cost a hell of a lot more. Not to mention, most people aren't going to take a wage cut to keep those jobs here. So that's just one example of how, he brings up a problem, but he doesn't have any discussion on, well, could it possibly be some of these policies that are pushing these companies overseas? You can go at it saying these companies are just greedy and they want more money. At the same time, look at the policies that, why would you be here if you can make more money abroad? Why would you be here and have to pay more taxes and be penalized when the government gets to pick and choose the winners, when you can go other places and get the fruits of your labor?
Taking over the world. I absolutely surrender.
We are taking over.
I love that all the women in that graphic were hot.
Right.
Like there was like a hot waitress. Like all these hot women are working.
Well, but I think one of the things is that we've seen the decline of unions, and that's really a huge factor in the decline of male wages. It is tough for men. It's tough for men without a college degree. The other thing, though, is I think we need to encourage men to think about so-called women's work. Our gendered ideas of men's and women's work are now, they've always worked against women, well, now they're working against men.
Alright, so first listen to the chick talk about how the women were attractive, which is a complete older unattractive woman, worried about the picture, which is stupid and a complete deflection. But you hear from the first female, she talks about how it's because of the loss of the unions. That's completely not true. I'm gonna do another segment where I show you how a lot of these right to work states, I think Wyoming's one of them, Indiana, a lot of these places that used to be real heavy, unionized states, they got rid of those unions and they're profiting as far as businesses go, manufacturing, infrastructure, things of that nature. But she claims that it's about the unions leaving. That's why these men are losing their jobs. I think that's absolutely not the case. Up north in blue states, Cali, New York, the unions hurt all those cities. Detroit, look at them. Now Detroit itself wants to be a right to work state, and all the liberals were mad. Melissa Harris, two last names Paris, did a whole segment as if she was telling these people that they don't know what they're really doing when they're choosing to do this. The people of Detroit said we'd rather have low wages than no wages, and it's gonna eventually put them back on the map, hopefully in the near future. But she says that, and then she also says that, well, these jobs that are stereotypically or traditionally made men and women, we need to get rid of that. But I think it's funny, I didn't need to bring it up in that video I did, what Miss USA should have said. But okay, that video shows you why men and women have a disparity in pay because of the choices and fields that they make. Men tend to choose jobs that are more difficult, and they are more demanding of their time and attention, and thus they get paid more for it. But this woman is saying, well, men should think about taking those same female occupations that don't pay a lot of money, and for the most part probably are not fulfilling for men anyways. So, and now you notice, why didn't she say, well, doctors, lawyers, things of that nature? She says take the female jobs. She didn't say take, the other jobs that might pay more money. So you want the women to take all these, doctors, lawyers, things of that nature, but you tell these men, maybe you should go into teaching, maybe you should go into nursing. For what? To make less money? That doesn't make any sense. How come we don't work on policies that make it more attractive to stay in America instead of penalizing companies for making money? Let's make it more attractive so these companies can stay here, so that men can do what they want to do and have fulfilling work, instead of telling them to take on female jobs that don't pay no money.
A couple of years ago, and when he was in elder and hospice care, he wished that he had a man as a nurse and an attendant, and so I could not encourage more that men should go into these fields that are also traditionally constantly fighting for an equal, a wage that services what's good. These traditional jobs, teaching, nurses, have always never been paid to what they're actually, how hard it is to actually do them too. So that needs to go up as well to encourage everybody to be able to do them.
Again, the reason why men don't do those jobs is because they don't find them fulfilling, nor do they pay enough money. But anyways, she talks about, I didn't get to say this either in the what Miss USA should have said video, but another point is once we get rid of this nonsense, which might never happen, but the debate on why there's a disparity between pay between men and women is because of choices in biology and things of that nature, not directly due to discrimination, which is the narrative from the left. She when the real end game situation is they compare apples and oranges when they use those statistics. There's a reason why they do that though, because the communist mindset is, the cultural Marxism ideology is, we want the teacher, the nurse, to make the same as the male who's a lawyer or a doctor or things of that nature. I mean, if you really break it down, when you get rid of all the nonsense and the intellectual dishonesty in their debate, and they have to be honest, they have to say that we want parity, we want people, we want the market not to decide how these people should get paid. The market does not say a teacher should make $100,000 a year. The market does not say that a nurse should make that much. Well, certain nurses do make that much. Traveling nurses, they make that amount of money, but some of these fields that make the average $35,000 to $39,000 a year, social working, things of that nature, not saying that those fields aren't important, it's just that they oversaturated, and they don't, the market is not required to make that much money to do that. But a lot of male-dominated jobs, the market demands that, and it gives you that. So at the end of the day, you can say they want parity with the apples and oranges. They want certain fields to make the same amount of money, even though the market is not Call for that.
You professionals were on this program, The Ed Show. Republicans like Eric Erickson support bad economic policies, but they freak out when they see the results.
Having moms as the primary breadwinner is bad for kids and bad for marriage, and reality shows us that's the truth.
Where's the Republican outrage about putting dads back to work?
Yeah,
Is there like that?
yeah, really.
But also, too, one of the things that we need to be talking about is equal pay is a part of this conversation. So when women are in the workforce and supporting 40% of American families, because they're getting paid less, it's impacting the kids. So we need to get the men back to work in jobs that they can sustain their families. And then the women that are already working, they need to get paid the same as the men doing the same work.
Again, of course, it's the Ed Show, and it's Republican policies that hurt and cause this issue. Yet if you look at all the red states, you look at all these new right to work states, you look at states that don't have like I live in New York, blue state, terrible dark blue state. We can't drill here, we can't hydrofrack here. Those are all policies of the left that take jobs that could be in here and in New York and employ a hell of a lot of men and completely change the economy, but because of the tree hugger mother suckers, we can't have those jobs here. Yet places like Minnesota, Wyoming, Tennessee, all these new right to work states, all following Republican policies. Those states are winning. Those states aren't in debt. Those states are winning. And then you got Arlena having to bring up the pay gap nonsense again, talking about, well, we need the women to get where they need to be because it hurts the children. I hate when pro-abortion people use children in their conversations. Stop it. But women are getting paid more than their male counterparts for the same work when they don't have children and they don't have families. Never mind.
The things that break relationships apart.
Right.
Finances,
Money. Yeah.
finances.
Yeah.
And yet men are being blamed. I mean, Charles Murray wrote a whole book about
Break relationships apart.
right.
Finances,
Money. Yeah.
finances.
Yeah.
And yet men are being blamed. I mean, Charles Murray wrote a whole book about white men, saying about white people what he used to only say about black people, but that white lower class men are lazier, they don't want to get married, they're not supporting their kids, and making it all about moral failings rather than an economy that doesn't have as much use for white men without a college
It's
degree.
structural. It's not
It's structural.
on an individual basis. It's because the structures are in place not allowing men to get jobs where they can sustain their family.
Exactly. Money is a big indicator on what breaks up relationships. That's part of the reason why Eric Erickson, Lou Dobbs, and those two other gentlemen were having that conversation. You know, that's one of the downsides to having the female-headed breadwinner. And when men aren't providing and things of that nature, or the female feels as he's not doing enough, that ends up ending in divorce in the majority of the cases. Yet liberal policies and liberal feminist leftists, they're encouraging that situation. Sheryl Sandberg wants more of that. That was what was missing from the conversation with Megyn Kelly on this topic. She wants to ignore that doesn't exist. It might work for your family, but a lot of families it doesn't work for. A lot of women do not want that situation. They don't respect men in that situation. The lazy, not wanting to work, not wanting to have families, white men, that's a product of your feminism. These are the type of men you've created. They no longer have to do certain things. They no longer have to follow the so-called social constructs that you liberals, atheists, and feminists always say are social constructs. They don't have to do that. They can go their own way. They can do whatever they want to do now. But that's a part of a post-feminist society. You've created those type of men, and now you're mad about them. It's amazing how we having this conversation, yet we ignore that women are 51% of the workforce. We ignore that their presence has driven down wages so that men can't properly provide for their families because there's more competition. You're competing with men now. You drove down wages. Back in the day, men could have no education and things of that nature, and still make a decent wage. But now that women, because they suck at negotiating skills, and they've changed the work environment so much that it benefits the employer to hire a female over a guy. So don't have this conversation about men slacking and the problem won't work, and ignore that you're 51% of the workforce, and that your presence has given more employers more options. Just like going overseas to keep them more money, hiring women also benefits them and helps them keep more of their money. That structure is called feminist, Zerlina.
The case that this economic recovery that we're having is really favoring women, although we have a pay inequity issue that needs to be addressed in this country. That's what I'm hearing.
It is,
Absolutely.
but wages aren't rising fast enough for anybody.
Right.
Labor, male or female, is not sharing in the gains of this alleged recovery.
And let's not forget, we are actually rewarding corporations with tax breaks for shipping jobs overseas still, and that's got to stop.
Right.
Yeah.
What about student loan rates? I mean, coming up in the first part of August, we're going to see the interest rate go to an astronomical number of over 6% when banks, of course, get it for 0.5% from the Fed. There's a terrible inequity there. Are we going to see a resurgence in the trades? Or are we going to see more and more trade school type opportunities for young people? Where are young people going? Zerlina, you're just out with a law degree. What do you see happening?
Well, I certainly think that, yes, there's going to be a resurgence of trades because we just have to have that happen. And one of the reasons why women are in the workforce in the numbers that they are is because they're going to college, they're going to law school, they're going to medical school and getting master's degrees and things of that nature. So they're the ones going to get these higher educations, but then they're getting all of this debt. And now if interest rates are going up, they're going to be saddled with all of this debt for years and years and years. And in the future, having to support families with a $1,000 a month student loan payment. So
Right.
it's going to hold all families back.
We need to support trade schools. We need to support community colleges, but we also need to start paying for people's college education. We need to make that a value, like it was a value. I mean, I feel like some of us are the last generation that this country kept its promises to. We got low tuition public education through you got your BA. That was expected. That's not the case anymore.
Yeah, and you also have to
Joan
be,
Walsh,
oh, sorry, go
Zerlina
ahead.
Maxwell, Liz Winstead, great to have you.
Absolutely agree. We do need to focus more on trade situations, which brings me to the conversation is when we keep hearing all the statistics about women in school and things of that nature, and we keep ignoring the fact that, education, as far as going to university, isn't the only way to achieve success in America, unfortunately. And they bring up these technical schools at the end of the conversation, but a lot of men do dominate these fields as it is, and we do need to invest more in those things. But it's a liberal policy to not invest so much in alternative education. When it comes to charter schools, or there's an article I read on NPR a couple of weeks back, and I got to do a video on that, but it was talking about how there's this one school that was going to be a business-minded school, and all these damn white liberals were butthurt that one school in Utah was going to offer, I think, kids from 5th grade up basically business, instead of it just being math, science, and all that other stuff, getting rid of the social aspects of it, things that they're not going to use, and focus more on the business part of it. All these white liberals were upset and angry, talking about we don't need any more greedy capitalists, and I'm like, damn, y'all really hate success that much. But it's your policy that doesn't open up the doors to other opportunities, other alternatives when it comes to education, and not to mention what we're doing with education. We're not doing things that have market values. We're not teaching children things that matter. We're trying to indoctrinate them on homosexuality and bullying. And we're getting rid of the arts and the science and gym. We're getting rid of music, things of that nature. It would be cool if you could go to a grammar school if you knew that's what you want to do, art, and you can focus just on art from day one. Or if you wanted to be a business person from day one. But it's liberals who don't like that options. It's liberals who oppose those type of choices. Alright, just to common sense end it off right here. Education was affordable before government got involved in it. When they guaranteed these debts and loans, it messed the game up. Just like the housing market was affordable before the government got involved in it. Just like healthcare was somewhat affordable before government got involved in it, and now it's all going to be worse. Every time the government interferes with these private situations, the price always goes up. So get government out of it, and the prices might go back down.